right, welcome back. Today we are diving into our risk finding sections. We just got done wrapping up Exabot Insights, and now we are going to go into the section of Exabot Risks. So, Exabot Risks is just kind of verbatim exactly what it sounds like, is revealing risks inside of the environment. Now, these are very factual based things inside of the environment where not necessarily doing things behavioral type of deviations or anything like that, just things that they're very factual. Now, they could be higher severity, medium severity, all the way down, kind of like an informational level as well, and can come from really kind of any data source in the environment as well. However, these aren't typically things where we want to bubble these up into the level of, hey, like we need to drop what we're doing and go address this or create an incident around these things. Typically, maybe not even necessarily sending these out via email. But as I kind of showed in the previous session where we talked about the Analyst Hub page, where this might be things where it's like, hey, I own maybe the AWS environment, so I want to go just kind of filter down on AWS and just kind of go take a look at like, hey, what open risks do we have inside of our AWS environment? So very quickly, you're going to be able to things like, hey, there's IAM users with unused access keys. So things like this are just, hey, they're opening up exposure into the environment. We have these keys, we're not using them. Let's go get rid of them. Those are ways that things are, they're really good targets. In case maybe your AWS account was compromised, we could go maybe start leveraging those keys that haven't been leveraged inside there, used inside of there. Just ways that to kind of pivot around and gain access into different accounts. So there's some items like that inside of here. Root users with active access keys as well. So basically, hey, if we're using root, we want to just probably log in with root if we really need to. Don't necessarily want to be creating access keys to things like this. So as you look through these, you can see, IDC users in the environment been inactive for longer than 90 days. So let's go open up one of these and go take a look inside of here. So what we're going to see is first and foremost the risk finding, and it's kind of saying, hey, we're also consolidating the findings inside of here. So under the open risks, there's 6 total of these. So it's going to detail every single scenario that we're seeing this inside of the environment, who's inactive, and which account do they belong to. And under the About page, it's going to say, hey, this is why this fired inside of the environment. Giving you some kind of key terms to digest inside of here as well, because basically it's referring to IDC users. So just giving you an explanation of some of the language that you're reading inside of here. And then also being able to take you into just some relevant documentation. Like, hey, ultimately, why did this trigger? And, kind of where, like, what are you referencing that maybe these are best practices or these are risky things? If we go open up something like this, it's going to take us to our security best practices in IAM. And this is where we'll detail those findings inside of there of why these risk findings were created inside of the environment. So just kind of giving you all of the different information that you would want to know about, like, hey, why did it trigger? Where are you getting this information from that it is a risk? And essentially, as we go open up, let's just go open up one of these here, for example, inside of the environment, is that we can see this particular user, IDC user, been active for longer than 90 days. Why did this fire? We can see the account they belong to. We could see the identity information that's related to them. Everything that we'd want to know. And then ultimately right here, also remediations. Basically, how would I go remediate this? So like, hey, if this is no longer an active user in the environment, what would I go do? So if we logged into the console, how would I go take those steps inside of my AWS console? If I wanted to use like the AWS CLI, for example, like what would that leverage if I was to go do something like that? Or if I just wanted to use Terraform and go push out this update, what would that look like? So just kind of giving you different ways that you might want to go remediate this. And basically it's saying, hey, you need to go deactivate or delete this user from the environment if they no longer belong to your environment. So a little bit of homework to do inside of there. If we had that actually context, that would be able to fuel this as well. Essentially saying, hey, we know this user was offboarded, and be able to add in that context as well. So kind of backing out here, there's different ways that you can really kind of leverage this. I typically see it done really kind of by the source itself. Like if I have maybe a risk reduction project of AWS, I'll go filter on that. Maybe something similar like inside of our Azure environment as well. we can go take a look at that, filter down on that particular source, and we can start seeing things like excessive permissions within applications inside of here. And you'll see all the aggregates that are inside of here. Basically what it's saying is that we have this risk and we can see it 4 separate times inside of the environment. So what that means is just like what I was showing when you open this up, it's going to say, why did this fire? Show me the open risks. Here's all 4 of them. And we could see this user, excessive privileges to which apps, which roles, and things of that nature. And as you go open these, exact same thing as I was showing on the previous one. It'll show me the user, role assignments that enable unauthorized privilege escalation. Okay, give me the roles, show me all of that information inside of here. And then ultimately, if I wanted to go make this remediation, what would it look like? And then same thing. If we were to do it via CLI or Terraform or the console, here's all of the steps that you need to go take. So really helpful portion of the product. Essentially just kind of bubbling up things that are just known risks that could be introduced to the environment. What kind of risk is it introducing the environment, and all the way down to how to remediate that risk as well. So you could also come inside of here, you could take a look at all the enable risk rules inside the environment. Here's all the enabled ones, disabled ones. You can create your own risk rules as well. So if there's things like, hey, these are all really good. I want to know about maybe, GitHub organization, not having a 2FA requirement enabled. These are all great, but I want to go write something that's very specific to my environment. You could do that inside of here as well. So that's really the kind of essentials around the Exobot risks. There are some additional things we'll talk about when we get into campaigns a little bit further, and how we can add these things to campaigns to overall reduce the risk inside of there. But for this one, that is essentially how we leverage risks inside of here. Thanks for watching.